Hello students. In the last class, we completed the first chapter, that is Living World, and today we are going to start a new chapter, that is second chapter, that is Biological Classification. Let us go for the details of this chapter. The first topic of biological classification is history of biological classification. The history of biological classification started with Aristotle. Aristotle, he is considered as father of biology and father of zoology. Hope you know what is the meaning of zoology. Studying about animals is called as zoology. He is the first one who attempted to classify the organisms. According to Aristotle, plants based on morphological characters. Morphological characters means external features of an organism is called as morphological characters. If you take a person, if you start describing him in terms of his external features, for example, that person is tall or he may be dwarf or he may be medium tall, whereas he is dark or he may be fair or maybe wheatish. That means I am explaining that person in terms of his external features, and explaining any external features of an organism is called as morphological characters. So based on the morphological characters, Aristotle classified plants into herbs, shrubs and trees. Herbs means weak stemmed plants. That means the stems won't be strong because their xylem and phloem won't be hard. That's why herbaceous plants or herbs means weak stemmed plants. Whereas the next one is shrubs. Shrubs means medium tall plants are called as shrubs. I can say they are bushes. They are not too tall like trees or too short like herbs. So I can say medium tall plants or bushy plants will be considered as shrubs. And the third category is trees. Their organization is well adopted. That means they are having a strong stem with branches and also good canopy. That means well defined plants, they are considered as, that means with a strong what I call woody stem. If the plants with a strong woody stem and they are tall, then they are called as trees. Hope you understood the classification of plants given by Aristotle. Whereas he also attempted to classify animals also based on the RBCs. Again, he classified these animals into two groups. The first one is Enaima and the next one is Enaima. Enaima means these are the organisms in which RBCs are absent in their blood. If RBCs are absent in their blood, then they are called as Enaima. Whereas if RBCs are present in their blood, then that is called as Enaima. Hope you understood. Now, the next uh, classification is Theophrastus. Theophrastus, he is considered as father of ancient plant taxonomy, and he is also considered as father of botany. Botany means studying about plants called as botany, and studying about animals. Just 5 minutes back only I told studying about animals called as zoology, whereas studying about plants called as botany. And he wrote some books, and the first book is Historia Plantarum. And many scientists believe, many taxonomists believe, this is a first book of botany. Of course there is no proper evidence for that, but many of the taxonomists, they believe it is a first book towards this botany. Whereas in that book he described around 480 plants, and second book is Causes of Plants, and the third book is Enquiry into Plants. So these are the three books written by Theophrastus. Whereas very important point I'm going to explain now, he is the one proposed three important terms. They are annuals, biennials and perennials. These are very important terms. Annual means These are the plants which complete their life cycle in 1 year. That means they pour their complete life, it gets finished in just in 1 year. For example, if you take one wheat plant, so one wheat plant, it can be able to finish its life cycle just in 1 year. Let us take Oryza sativa, I mean rice plant also, it completes its life cycle just in 1 year. So the plants which can be able to complete their life cycle in 1 year, they are called as annual plants. And biennial, in this in the name itself, the meaning it is given biannual, that means 2 years. The plants which can be able to complete their life cycle in 2 years. For example, you are eating carrot, you are eating this beetroot, radish, these are all 2 year living plants. So the plants which can be able to live for 2 years, they are called as biennials. And the last one is perennial. Perennial means these are the plants which can live for so many years, that means longer duration of life they are having. So the plants which live more than 2 years, and that means I mean they can be able to live for longer time, then they are called as perennial plants. So these are the three very important terms, students, you have to remember this, okay? Whereas he also classified these plants into four groups. What are they? The first one is herbs. Just 5 or 10 minutes back I told you herbs means weak stemmed plants are called as herbs. Whereas under shrubs, see, he added one more category. That means under shrubs means they are medium tall, but not like, that means they are a intermediate form between herbs and shrubs. Shrubs means they are medium tall and bushy and little lesser organized, then they are called as under shrubs. So according to him, plants are herbs, under shrubs, shrubs, and also trees. So these are the four groups of plants given by Theophrastus. Okay, well, we'll go for another scientist. Yes, very important scientist. Even in living world also, some points we already discussed about him, Carolus Linnaeus. Hope you remember, students. I already told you he is the father of taxonomy. So actually Carolus Linnaeus' name is Carl von Linn. This is his true name, but he's working in Latin language. That's why he changed his name to Carolus Linnaeus, but actually his name is Carl von Linn. But as he is working, see how passionate, it shows his dedication towards his work. As he's working on this language, he even changed his name, actual name Carl von Linn, into Carolus Linnaeus. That clearly shows how sincere he is. Whereas just now I told he is father of taxonomy, but he is father of both plant taxonomy and also animal taxonomy. This point you please remember, both plant taxonomy also and animal taxonomy. So he is a father. Whereas he is the first one attempted to give kingdom classification. Of course, though it is having its own drawbacks, but the first kingdom classification was given by Carolus Linnaeus only. This is a very, very important point. So according to him, the whole living organisms that are present on this earth planet is categorized into two kingdoms. What are they? Kingdom Plantae, that means all the plants were included under Plantae, whereas all the animals were included under Animalia. And of course, definitely I'm going to discuss this in a little detailed manner, then you will understand. Let us go for another point. I'll come back to this point. Just 5 minutes, you please wait. And he gave some books also. The first one is Hortus Upplandicus. Of course, Upplandus also in some books I've seen. Actually, I've seen. That's why I'm telling. In some textbooks, it is given as Hortus Upplandus, but convincing name is Hortus Upplandicus. In Hortus Upplandicus, he gave introduction to the plants. And the second book is Philosophia Botanica. So Philosophia Botanica. In this, he has given principles of systematics and classification. And the third book is Systema Naturae. In this, he gave detailed information and classification of animals. And Genera Plantarum. In this book, he gave detailed classification of plants, whereas in the last book, Species Plantarum, he has given botanical, that means the technical names of the plants. So these are the five books proposed by given by Carolus Linnaeus. Now, as I already told you, I need to discuss a little more about two kingdom classification. Now I am going for that. Hope you understand till now whatever the points I discussed. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. And these days many students are asking me doubts. I'm very happy for that. This is actually a right. You can ask any doubt. Okay. Now, the little details about two kingdom classification. So, Linnaeus is a first naturalist to classify this organisms into two kingdoms. So that means first kingdom level of classification was given by Carolus Linnaeus based on their cell structure. And after this, see, of course, I definitely know, and I'm clearly telling this classification is not accepted classification. You just normally you think, see, I clearly wrote also where according to this kingdom classification, only two kingdoms are there, Planta and Animalia. Did you notice clearly both are eukaryotes? Am I correct? No, then where is prokaryote in this? That means it clearly show this classification is not correct, but it led the foundation, it made the other scientists to think about classifying the organisms. So that means it is a originator, I can say, though it is wrong, but it gave inspiration to many scientists to attempt the classification, to explain about the classification. So that is a most important point you need to understand. So according to him, organisms are classified into two groups, two kingdoms, the kingdom Plantae and kingdom Animalia. In kingdom Plantae, he included all the plants, whereas kingdom Animalia, he included all the animals, and he classified these organisms based on these characteristics. Let us take the first characteristics, cell wall. Obviously cell wall, it is present in plants and obviously absent in animals. This is a well known point to every one of you. And locomotion, plants can never be able to exhibit any movement, whereas these animals can be able to move from one place to another place. Whereas mode of nutrition, plants are autotrophs. So many times I told you what is the meaning of autotroph. Plants, they have ability to prepare their own food material by a vital mechanism called as photosynthesis. That's why they are called as autotrophs. Whereas animals, they can't be able to prepare their own food material. For their food material, they need to depend upon others. So animals are considered as heterotrophs. Whereas a response to external stimulus, yes, plants, they have some what I call ability to respond towards the external stimulus, but don't at all compare the response given by a plant to an animal, because plants cannot be able to respond itna quick, itna fast like an animal. For example, I'll tell you, if you touch a hot object, imagine if you are touching a hot object, what you do immediately within no second you will withdraw your hand. But plant will it be able to do that? No. But if you keep a plant under shade, it start bending its younger parts towards the light. Am I correct or not? That means it is showing response, but it is not comparable to the response given by a plant. But still, it is showing some response. Now, these are the characteristics on which Carolus Linnaeus classified organisms into Plantae and Animalia. Hope you understood what is two kingdom classification. Now, we will go for next scientist. Now, the next scientist is Bentham and Hooker. Bentham and Hooker, to be frank, they are not scientists. Then what are they? They are curators. Why they are called as curators? Because they used to work in Royal Botanical Gardens. In Royal, because these are the workers, these are the employees of Royal Botanical Garden, and the scientists who works in botanical gardens, they will be considered as curators. That's why I am calling Bentham and Hooker as curators. Hope you understood why I called like that. And they also wrote a book called Genera Plantarum, in which they have given biggest natural classification of spermatophyta. Hope you know what is the meaning of spermatophyta. Seed producing plants are called as spermatophyta. And they tried to classify this spermatophyta according to them, Spermatophyta, it includes 202 families, which are broadly categorized into three classes. What are they? The first one is dicots, which includes 165 families, and the next category is gymnosperms. It includes three families, whereas the last one is monocots, which includes 34 families. So what are the merits? Let us see. Of course, students, before I go to demerits, let me tell you, because this is not a approved classification. Why? Just wait for 2 minutes, I'll tell you why this classification is not accepted. Give me 2 minutes, I'll definitely explain. But before going to that, what are the advantages of this classification? Let us see. This classification is mainly based on floral characters, that means sexual characters. Many of you, so many times in previous classes also, I used to tell, in plants the sexual part is nothing but flower, and vegetative parts are nothing but root, stem, and also leaf. So their classification is mostly based on floral characters than the vegetative characters. This is one of the strongest point, whereas it is the simplest classification, and this classification, it is based on the actual real observations. So these are the strong points of his classification. But how much strong they did, they forgot to apply the basic level of basic character, that is phylogeny. They did not consider the phylogeny important. That is the reason why itna mehnat it finally got wasted. You just see a logic in the plant evolution, which originated first thallophyta, after that bryophyta, and then pteridophyta, बाद में gymnosperms, and then angiosperms. And angiosperms includes the dicots and monocots. This you must be knowing it, because I don't exactly know. In your 8th class or 9th class or 10th class, you must have studied at least basic classification of the plants. In that, plants may, the first evolved plants are thallophytes, and the second one are bryophytes, and the third one is pteridophyte, the fourth one is gymnosperms, and the fifth one is angiosperms, which is again divided into dicots and monocots. Now you just think for a while, dicots, monocots, they both are angiosperms. Am I correct or not? बीच में, दोनों को बीच में gymnosperms कैसे आ गया? Now you understood the logic. At least now you understood why from the beginning I'm telling you this is not a proper classification. This is the reason. You must have understood now. He kept dicots and monocots ka beech mein, in the middle he kept gymnosperms, and it is not at all correct, because according to the evolution, gymnosperms appeared first, बाद में angiosperms, and after that dicots and monocots. But he involved gymnosperms in the middle of dicots and monocots. How is it possible? That is the reason why this classification is not a valid classification. Hope you understood. Now I will show the classification. Students, just don't worry, just by seeing this classification, I wanted to tell you why this classification is not accepted. For this I pasted this diagram. Please don't read, don't write this classification also. I am again last time telling you this classification is not important classification. Just I wanted to tell you this classification is not accepted classification, to show that I pasted this image. Don't write and don't read this classification. See, in this classification, plants, they are divided into cryptogams and phanerogams. Hope you know cryptogams means these are non-flowering plants. That means these are the plants cannot be able to produce flowers. Whereas phanerogams means these are flowering plants. That means they can be able to produce flowers. Whereas again phanerogams are classified into dicots, gymnosperms, and monocots. Here it is clearly you can be able to see it is wrong. Why? In between dicots and monocots, he included gymnosperms. That means it is clearly violating the phylogeny. That's why this classification is not a correct classification. It is not followed by anyone. Hope you understood. Now, let us go for one more scientist. His name is Eclair. Eclair, he's a very important scientist. Why? You know, he's a first one. He is a very first one to give the classification based on phylogeny. What is the meaning of phylogeny? Evolutionary order. Okay, that means plants, how they are formed. It started from Thallophyta, and then Bryophyta, Pteridophyta, and Spermatophyta. That means gymnosperms and angiosperms. That means he clearly followed the evolutionary process. So first one, he's the first scientist to give a phylogenetic classification. Of course, he did not follow. Yes, he followed phylogenetic, but he did not follow it exactly. That is a point. That means he followed. For example, some students, just for your understanding, I am telling you, don't take me wrong. Some students, they do the homework, but they don't do complete homework. So if I give 5 questions as homework, they will write only three questions, and two they don't do. So now you tell me, they did homework, but did they do it completely? So that is a point. Even with Eclair also, he followed phylogeny, but he did not follow it properly. That is the reason why his classification may a small drawback is there. What is that? See, Plantae, that means all the plants kingdom Plantae, which includes cryptogams and phanerogams. Cryptogams means these are non-flowering plants, whereas phanerogams means these are flowering plants. Whereas cryptogams, again it is divided into division Thallophyta, division Bryophyta, and division Pteridophyta. Now see, I am telling you, I am coming to the what is the drawback of his classification. Under Thallophyta, he included the subdivision algae and also fungi. Now hope you understood. Before I am telling, before I tell only, many of you must have understood. Fungi is a saprophyte. Am I correct or not? Fungi is a decomposer. Fungi can never be able to produce its own food material. It always depends upon dead and decaying organic matter. How come fungi is included under kingdom Plantae? You tell me. Just you think for 2 minutes. Is it possible? Plant, basically, what is the meaning of Plantae, my students? Plantae means the organisms which can be able to produce their own food material called autotrophs, and all the autotrophs, they comes under Plantae. Am I correct or not? How come fungi, which is a saprobe, can be included under Plantae? So he followed phylogeny, but he did not follow the phylogeny strictly. That is the reason why he got this mistake in his classification. Of course, the rest of the classification is perfect. Remaining all the classification whatever he gave, he see, even it followed the phylogeny also. To be frank, according to the evolution, Thallophyta is the first formed plant group, and after that Bryophyta, after that Pteridophyta, after that Gymnosperms, and after that Angiosperms. Yes, it is perfect, but he did mistake because he did not follow the phylogeny properly. Hope you understood Eclair's classification. Now we will go for one more scientist. Who is that? Oswald Tippo. Oswald Tippo, he gave the biggest phylogenetic classification of plant kingdom. Students, you believe me, even till date also, even now we are living in 21st century, even in this century also, many scientists, if they get any doubts in evolutionary process of the plants, they go for Oswald and Tippo classification only. So such a most valid, authentic phylogenetic classification was given by Oswald Tippo. According to him, plant kingdom is classified into Thallophyta, which is unable to produce the embryo, whereas Embryophyta, that means they can be able to produce embryo. Whereas based on vesicular tissue, students, hope you know what is vesicular tissue. Otherwise, just for your understanding, I'll tell you. In plants, for water conduction and for food conduction, for water transport, there is a tissue called as xylem, whereas for the food transport, there is a tissue called as phloem. And xylem, phloem, these two conductive tissues together called as vesicular tissue. Hope you understood now. Whereas on the basis of this vesicular tissue, again this embryophyta is divided into atracheata, and next one is a tracheophyta. Atracheata means they are not having the vesicular tissue. In that, he included Bryophyta. See, non-vesicular plants, that means vesicular tissue is absent. Hope you understood. And again, he classified Bryophyta into Hepaticopsida, Anthoceratopsida, and Bryopsida. So these are the three classes again included under Bryophyta. And under Tracheophyta, that means vesicular plants, again he included four classes. The first one is Psilopsida, the second one is Lycopsida, third one is Sphenopsida, and the fourth one is Pteropsida. Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida, and Pteropsida. So these are the four classes included under Tracheophyta. See, small mistake happened. Did you notice what is that? Under Psilopsida, along with the fern plants, he included gymnosperms and also angiosperms. Yes, according to phylogeny, it is correct. Yes, I do accept. According to phylogeny, it is correct. After pteridophytes only, gymnosperms and angiosperms. But in the placements wise, it did the mistake. That is the reason why. Beginning itself, I clearly told. In terms of phylogeny, if any student, any scientist got doubt, they refer Oswald and Tippo. But according to the proper grouping, proper placement of groups, this Oswald Tippo classification is not that correct. Hope you understood. Now we will go for one more. Now, three kingdom classification. Students, I already told you one kingdom classification. What is that? Remembered? Two kingdom classification. Who proposed it? Carolus Linnaeus. Now, I am explaining one more. That means another kingdom classification. That is three kingdom classification. Here already there are some mistakes happened in two kingdom classification. To rectify this that mistake, there is one scientist, his name is Ernest Haeckel. Ernest Haeckel is a German zoologist who gave a three kingdom classification. In that, he created a separate kingdom, a completely separate kingdom for unicellular eukaryotes, and that name of that kingdom is Protesta. In that Protesta, see, according to him, three kingdoms means the first one is Kingdom Protesta, number one. Second one is Kingdom Plantae, and the third last one is Kingdom Animalia. So three kingdoms are there. That's the reason why three kingdom classification. In Protesta, he included all the unicellular eukaryotes, whereas all the multicellular autotrophs are included under plants, and all the multicellular heterotrophs are included under animalia. So again, did you notice while I'm telling, are you observing something? Again, this classification, this kingdom classification is also failed. Why? You must have understood by this time what he missed. Just think and try to understand what he missed. He missed prokaryotes. Did you notice it? So here prokaryotes are missing. That's why this kingdom classification is also not accepted. So till now, two kingdom classifications were explained. One is two kingdom classification and three kingdom classification. Now we are going for the third classification. What is that? Four kingdom classification. It was given by Copeland. In this Copeland, till now two kingdom and three kingdom में दोनों में they did not cover this prokaryotes. Am I correct or not? That's why he created as exclusive kingdom for this particular prokaryotes under the kingdom called as Monera. See, did you notice it or not? So this is a classification. In that four kingdoms are there. What are they? Kingdom Monera included all the prokaryotes. Kingdom Protesta, all the unicellular eukaryotes. Kingdom Plantae, all the multicellular autotrophs. Kingdom Animalia, all the multicellular heterotrophs. So like that, four kingdoms are given. That's why four kingdom classification. But still, again, this classification is also not accepted. Hope you must have got that point. Why? Just think for 1 minute. You can be able to answer by yourself. Where proper differentiation of the organisms is not done. Somewhere the saprobes are missing. Did you notice it or not? So because saprobes are missing, yes, here prokaryotes are given. Yes, one major correction is done, but still 100% all the flaws are not corrected. That's why one more classification is required. What is that? Again, five kingdom classification was given. In that, for saprobes also, for decomposers also, a special kingdom is given. What is that? Kingdom Fungus, kingdom Mycota. So definitely we will discuss. Just give me 1 minute. First of all, let me tell you who introduced five kingdom classification. Robert H. Whittaker. Need not to call the complete name. Directly you call Whittaker. R. H. Whittaker. He has given five kingdom classification. What is that? Let us see. Kingdom Monera, as it is, all the prokaryotes are included under that. Kingdom Protista, as it is, all the unicellular eukaryotes. Did you notice the third one? Kingdom Mycota or fungi. In that, all the saprobes are included. Did you notice it or not? This is a special exclusive kingdom was given by this R.H. Whittaker. And the fourth and fifth are same. Kingdom Plantae and Kingdom Animalia. All the multicellular autotrophs and multicellular heterotrophs are included under Plantae and Animalia. That's why five kingdoms are there. So five kingdom classification, and he did five kingdom classification based on one, complexity of the cell structure. That means it is a prokaryote or it is a eukaryote. Based on that, and the second characteristic he has taken is complexity of the body organization. That means it is a unicellular. That means whole body is made up of single cell, or body is made up of many cells. That means multicellular. Now the third point, whether it is a autotroph or heterotroph, that means mode of nutrition, and a lifestyle. That means ecological position. It is a producer, consumer, or decomposer. What it? Hope you know, students. Hope you know what is producer. Producer means the organisms which can be able to prepare their own food material. They are called as producers. All the plants are called as primary producers. Hope you understood now. If you don't know, if you don't understand, sometimes see, it's like this. Like while I'm explaining, it may happen that one or two words I may forget. Thinking that I usually don't forget, thinking that you must be knowing it. If that condition happens, you can message me. I definitely answer. Producers means the organisms which has ability to prepare their own food material called as producers, and plants will be considered as primary producers, whereas the next one is consumers, the organism which depends upon other organism for the food material, then that is called as consumers. What is, for example, we are only consumers, we are depending upon plants. For example, today you wanted to have some pulao. For that, you need, you want some rice, it comes from plant only, so we are consumers only na. So no, you wanted to have some chicken 65 maybe, then you have to depend upon some chicken. Am I correct? Not, you need to kill that particular bird. That means we are depending upon some other organism for our food material. That's why we are called as consumers. Decomposers means these are the organisms which depends upon dead and decaying organic matter. For example, you brought some bread today. By mistake, you forgot to use that bread today. You kept it on the table, and it somehow you missed to use it. After 2 days, what happens? You tell me. You can see small some fungus. It appears some filament like structures. It appears on that bread. What are they? They are nothing but fungus. So fungus, it is considered as decomposers. Hope you understood. So based on the lifestyle or ecological level, ecological status, these organisms are classified. And last criteria characteristic has taken is phylogenetic. That means evolutionary relationship. Based on these five characteristics, he gave five kingdom classification. But students, let me tell you a most important thing. What is that? He has taken all the characteristics into consideration, but he has given more priority to mode of nutrition. Very, very important point. Yes, he has taken all the characteristics into consideration, but he has given more importance to mode of nutrition. Very important point. Please understand this. Whereas as students, this is just like a brief summary of the classification. By seeing this, you can understand, just by the images you can understand what are the organisms involved under that particular kingdom. This video for just half a minute, then you will understand what are the examples of this, what are the organisms which are included, and everything you will understand. Okay, now advantages of five kingdom classification. The advantage is, see, separation of the prokaryotes from all these eukaryotes, it is fully justified. That means everyone clearly accepted, yes, separating prokaryotes from eukaryotes is the best point, and giving saprobes a special condition, special kingdom, that is accepted by every scientist. but and he also avoided the confusion between the organisms which are having the characteristics of both plants and also animals. That means euglena, it shows the characteristics of plants also and it shows the characteristics of animals also. So by placing them under separate kingdom level, he clearly vanished that particular confusions. And of course, he followed the phylogeny. Because he followed phylogeny, he got the ability to, he got the idea to separate the fungi from the plant. Earlier, I already clearly told, earlier fungi was included under plant because they did not follow the proper phylogenetic relationship. As he followed proper phylogeny, he got the idea to separate fungi from kingdom Plantae. But it is accepted classification and he has taken all the characteristics into consideration, but still he did a mistake. What is that? Where is virus in that? Show me in this classification. Dekho kidhar virus, nowhere he mentioned. So that is a biggest drawback of RH Whittaker's classification. So five kingdom classification is an accepted classification. Though it is accepted classification, he is having this classification is also having certain corrections. That corrections are, he did not discuss about virus, and he also did not discuss about lichens, because lichens are the symbiotic associations of both algae and fungi. Now he did not, he unable to give the proper position for lichens. So these are the drawbacks of this five kingdom classification. Students, you must have understood. If you get any doubts, you can ask me. I will definitely clarify the doubts. Okay, now the last one, today's last topic is three domain classification, which is called as a six kingdom classification. Three domain classification was given by Carl Voss. Carl Voss is a scientist who has given six kingdom classification. According to him, there are three, all the organisms on this earth planet is divided into three domains. What are they? The first domain is domain bacteria. In that, he included all the bacteria, whereas domain archaea, what is the meaning of archaea? Ancient or old bacteria were included under domain archaea. That means all the archaea, that means most earliest bacteria were included under archaea. And the third domain is domain eukarya. In that he included four kingdoms: kingdom protista, plantae, fungi, and also animalia. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bacteria, archaebacteria, protists, fungus, plants, and animals. Six kingdoms, and all the six kingdoms under three domains. What are they? Under domain bacteria, bacteria. Under domain archaea, archaebacteria or primitive bacteria. Whereas under domain eukarya, protista, plantae, fungus, and animals. So this is how he has given three domain classification. Now, let us take the summary, a brief revision of today's lesson. Today, I explained about various kingdom classifications. The first kingdom classification is two kingdom classification given by Carolus Linnaeus. According to him, two kingdoms are there: plant kingdom and animal kingdom. But in that he missed some what I call organisms, prokaryotes. That's why there is one more scientist, Haeckel, has come. He again added one more kingdom, that is protista, planta, and animalia. And again some mistake appeared. Again he also forgot what are the prokaryotes. And बाद में there is one more scientist, his name is Chaitin has come, and he did not follow kingdom classification. He gave two empire classification. According to him, only two organisms are there, two groups of organisms are there. The first one is prokaryotes and the second one is eukaryotes. And this classification is not much accepted classification, so just ignore it. Don't need to follow. Even in text, many of the textbooks may you can't be able to see this Chaitin's classification, because basically it is not accepted. That's why I'm immediately switching on to the next one, Copeland. Copeland is the one who rectified this mistake. First time he has given a proper kingdom for all the prokaryotes. So Monera, Protista, Planta, and Animalia. And saprobes are forgotten. That's why Again, Whittaker has come and he has given five kingdom classification. In that, all the prokaryotes under Monera, all the unicellular eukaryotes under Protista, and all the saprops under fungi, and all the multicellular autotrophs under plants, and all the multicellular heterotrophs under animals. And बाद में last one is Curl was three domain classification. All these five kingdoms were included under differentiated into six kingdoms. That means that means again Monera he differentiated into bacteria and old bacteria. That means eubacteria, true bacteria, whereas archaea means old bacteria, primitive bacteria, and eukarya. These four will be there. Hope you understood three domain classification. So today's class is the history of biological classification. You must have understood, but still any confusions, even single word also if you don't understand, please message me. I'll definitely answer, and I'm answering it also. Thank you so much, and in the next class I'll come up with the next topic, that is kingdom Monera. Thank you so much, students.